Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1957. The topic is mindset, and the title is, Where Are You Willing to Do Less? We often fill up our lives with have-to-dos, like-to-dos, and want-to-dos. So things we have to do, things we like to do, and things we want to do. When we want to take on a new goal, we often struggle to fit it into our current habits. We feel like there isn't enough time, I don't have enough energy, I don't have enough money. We feel as though we never have enough. But yet, when trying to add something new, that's exactly what we do. We think of adding. We think of adding to an already overloaded, overwhelmed life. I was talking with Meredith the other day, and we were just kind of discussing some business goals I have and then some business and life goals that we have together. And we want to kind of take on some new challenges, but we're struggling to gain traction in those new things. We're getting some of the things we need done, but it feels slow, and we're running into that same feeling of just not having enough. So I made the comment to her, I said, I'm just not sure where I can do less right now. And she thought that was a pretty cool phrase and would make a good podcast. Is that idea, the thought of, if I want to do something more, I have to ask myself, where can I do less? So the statement, I'm not sure where I can do less right now, was where my mind was focused on how to do more. Now, Meredith and I are very purposeful with our time. We prioritize God, each other, our health, and then business sustainability, and then kind of business and life growth. And then we try to fit in time to work out, to eat, and I would consider that health, but that is something that's like mindful every day. So I enjoy working out, and I do work out most days a week, but it is something that I have to plan for, account for, and if it's not intentional, it can very easily the time for it just seems to disappear. What I struggle with is food, and Meredith does as well. We both find eating to be very inconvenient. So I help every morning to make the food for the day, prepare our meals, make sure everything's ready to go, and then that way we can kind of streamline our day, and it requires the least amount of time possible. So we're busy people, but we're very happy. Very happy people. In the sense that, we feel like we're busy at the right things, meaning we're busy with a relationship with God, busy with taking time for each other. So even in a very busy day, if she's working from home and I'm from home, and I'll stop in at her office if she's between meetings and just ask her how her day is going. If it turns into a 10, 15, 20-minute conversation, I'm as happy as it can be. So I love those moments. So we're busy in the sense of doing the things that we highly prioritize. There's not really a lot of wasted time. So in the past, in order to gain more, I would give up on sleep. But after having done that for a few years, kind of had to really start doing that pretty hard, lean hard into that as an option in late 2019, early 2020, and it's not working anymore. So when I lose out on sleep, my productivity of the next day, even if I'm awake longer, is just absolute trash. So I've really worked on mindfulness. I've actually worked on some meditation type things in order to try to increase my productivity. So I feel like my awareness of productivity is increasing. And I notice that when I don't get as good quality of sleep, and even if I'm awake, for an extra 2-3 hours in that day, it doesn't equate to 2 to 3 hours worth of extra productivity because I'm tired. I have a harder time concentrating, harder time transitioning from one task to the next task in a streamlined fashion. Your productivity just kind of disappears a little bit. Then In the past, I've given up on workouts in the sense of rather than training 5 to 6 times a week for a full hour or more in the gym, it turned into, kind of 3 or 4 times a week, mostly 3 with a full hour. And then the other days was whatever the heck I could fit in, even if it was, 10 push-ups in the bed at night before I fell asleep. And that was kind of in the height of the COVID madness. Meredith went through a job change, which we've talked about a little bit before. It led to her kind of not having a paycheck for a while. My business was changing over from being in person to more online due to the COVID restrictions and COVID issues. Her mother had a stroke, and we became full-time caretakers for her, which involved us moving her from New Jersey down to South Carolina where we live, taking her to every doctor appointment that you have to have after a stroke. And it was absolute chaos. And it was just doing whatever the heck we could in order to keep up the minimum. So at that time, I was giving away sleep. I was giving away some workout time to help take care of her mother, to help support Meredith through her changes, and then try to take care of my own changes. And it was stressful. It was exhausting. It wore me out. But we got through it, and now we're in a much better place. We grew through it. And I don't mean that in a relationship. Meredith's always been amazing. More so just life situation and degree of happiness in life. We've grown through that. And what was interesting, though, was through that process, I've realized that doing less in sleep, doing less in workouts, doing less in self-care isn't where I want to do less anymore. It was unsustainable. It was not the healthiest for emotional, mental health, and mindset. It is not an option anymore for where to do less. So now, in order to support future growth and goals, I need to find a new place or places to do less. And I know then by doing less in those areas, it'll give me margin to be able to do more in the new things. So you have to do less in the old things to create margin to do more in the new things. And what's interesting is when you consider that process of where to do less, it's extremely important to understand where do I need more? Like, what do I need more of? Do I need more time? Do I need more emotional energy? Do I need more physical energy? Do I need more money? It's important to ask what we need more of so that when we trade the less of, like when I do less in something, does that produce a more in the area that I want? So when I was doing less in sleep, less in self-care, I wasn't actually getting more time because my productivity was lower. It was a trade to where if I was counting hours of the day, absolutely I was getting more. And I was trying my best to get the most productive from that more as I could, but it really wasn't the best trade-off. And increasing my awareness in that area has really helped because now I have a better awareness of if I'm going to want more from somewhere, where am I going to do less, and to be more purposeful and intentional with that less. Not just less in what's easy to do less in what actually produces the more of what I need. What goals do you have that you feel you're struggling to keep up with? Or you're struggling to even get started? For those goals, what do you need more of? What do you need more of? Do you need more money? Do you need more emotional health, physical health? What do you need more of? It's important to consider that so that way, whenever you decide to do less in something, you know that the more that you're going to get is what you actually want. So finances, pretty easy. If I need more money I need to do a lot less of spending money. So where do I spend money that I could afford to do less? That's pretty straightforward. But emotional energy. Maybe you're trying to take on a new goal, but you just feel emotionally worn out. You just can't seem to get motivated. Whenever you're faced with a decision to get out of bed or not, somehow it always, staying in bed always wins. That's emotional fatigue. So how do you get more emotional energy? You have to kind of sit down and think it through. What drains your emotional health the most? Then how can you reduce those things? And, if possible, can you add in the new habits before you become emotionally drained? This is actually pretty true of physical energy as well. You may need to get up early, which means you have to go to bed earlier, in order to get in the more that you need ahead of the stress. So I'm not saying sleep less. If you want to get up an hour earlier, go to bed an hour earlier, sleep the same. But you might find that in order for you to create margin in the area of what you need, emotional stress, you might not be able to significantly reduce the things that are actually causing you emotional stress. So the option you may be left with is, can I get in what I need to get in before I become emotionally fatigued or before I become physically fatigued? Can you get in the more ahead of the stress? I kind of think of it myself as trying to get in whatever I need before everything else gets in the way. So something I've told myself, and I unfortunately have to remind myself of often, is the phrase, just do it tired. If I go to bed when I'm no longer productive, which is often a lot earlier than when I normally go to bed, it allows me to get up earlier. And typically my body is like, if we actually have a little bit of margin to sleep, why don't we just sleep? So my body is sending me the signals to stay in bed. But when I feel that feeling of contemplating staying in bed, I remind myself of every day that I've slept in, every day that then life got in the way and I didn't get in when I wanted to get in. How throughout the day, feeling like what I wanted was getting stolen from me, and by the end of the day, recognizing that I didn't get it in, how angry I felt, how frustrated I felt, how mad I felt. So when I'm contemplating getting out of bed, I just remember those feelings. I'm like, I don't like those feelings. I don't like those feelings more than I don't like being tired. So I remind myself to just do it tired. I'd rather be tired for 10 to 20 minutes, and then, a little bit of caffeine kicks in, or you got bright lights, you got music going, you got something that stimulates you and wakes you up. I'd rather be tired for 10 to 20 minutes than angry with the world and myself for 24 hours because I missed the whole day. So I'd encourage you to ask yourself, when you're wanting to take on a new goal, when you're hoping and wanting to do more, to ask yourself, where can I do less? And what do I actually need? What do I have to do less in to get what I need? So where do I need more margin? Emotional health, financial health, physical health. Where do I need more margin? And where can I do less of to create that margin? So I just want to throw that thought process out there, make you a little bit more aware of it, and hopefully it helps whenever you're thinking through this situation in your own life. An older podcast we have, if you want to check it out, it's just 20 podcasts ago, is podcast 1937. It was a mindset podcast titled Look for the Minimum, Not the Maximum. And that helps touch on this same concept as well, is in order to do our best, to be our best, we often have to actually look at the minimum of what's needed, not the maximum. And that can be pretty kind of interesting to think through. Okay. Well, if you need anything, You can always reach out to me on the website. The website is www.brutalirongym.com. You can see all the services we have. We have a podcast player on there. On the bottom of the page is a message form, contact form. You can always shoot me an email. If you have any questions, if you want to request anything for the podcast, anything you need, I'm always available. Again, www.brutalirongym.com. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. If you like the podcast, please consider donating to support the podcast, which you can do on our website. Also, if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.